Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Ayşe Süberker. In the past week, PKK supporters have carried out several attacks on Turkish communities in both Belgium and Germany. While Turkiye's foreign ministry urged authorities there to ensure the safety of its nationals, it also added that it expects the countries in question to bring the attackers to justice. In the past month, Ankara has also intensified its operations against the terror organization.
These events show that the more we attack, the more the PKK is cornered. And the more it is cornered, the more it terrorizes the countries that have tolerated them for years. Our state protects its citizens under all circumstances.
Tensions first broke out in Belgium on Sunday when a group of PKK sympathizers chanted provocative slogans around an area where many Turkish nationals live. Their attacks continued in other parts of the country, leaving several people injured. PKK supporters in Germany also held a march and attacked the Turkish Consulate General building in Hanover. And in France, they did the same at Charles de Gaulle Airport, where 3 staff members were injured. The attacks in Europe come as Ankara has intensified its operations against the terror group in both Türkiye and northern Iraq. The PKK is listed as a terrorist organization by Türkiye, the US and EU. And now to discuss the latest PKK attacks across Europe, joining me now from London is a political analyst, Klaus Jürgens, and from Istanbul, Zuhal Mert Uzuner, an associate professor at Marmara University. A warm welcome to you both, and thanks for joining me on Straight Talk. So, Zuhal, for the past few days, there have been continued attacks on Turkish nationals in Belgium by sympathizers of the PKK terror group. Where does it come from, and what triggered this violence?
Actually, we can see the latest developments, especially this new trade route created between Iraq and the regional countries, is an opportunity to overcome the continuous the violence flow in our region. So it is obvious that there is no more place for such kind of violence in our geography. And also Turkish operations against these terrorist groups is very obviously successful in the region. So as a result, it is very clear that these groups have a kind of the worry maybe to see any kind of elimination in this the regional, let's say the calculations. I explain all these things with let's say the explanations because there is no other reason for attacking the civilian and the very peaceful targets like the Consul General. These are not acceptable, not tolerable. It's a clear violation of international law, and everything is so clear. So there is no provocation against these groups to provoke some more violence in their cities, regions.
Yes. So, Klaus, what do you think, besides this trade route between Türkiye and Iraq, as Zuhal just mentioned, do these latest violent incidents have anything to do with Türkiye's local elections and its plans to launch a comprehensive military campaign in northern Iraq against the PKK terror organization?
Well, I'll try to be very, very brief. It's a huge topic. Now, yes, of course, local elections in less than 2 days coming up here. But I don't think of this actually the local elections. I think there is a much wider, in a positive sense, dimension. That would be the first minute. Türkiye has managed to all but erase the threat of PKK. There are pockets within, and there are dangers just across its southern border, but Turkey is working very hard on it. It is a positive success story. When you are faced by terror, you actually have to react and make sure that this cannot continue. And of course, the PKK sympathizers in Europe are realizing this, that basically our time in Turkey is up. I hope so, sincerely hope so. And now, as the president recently said himself, if I may, without literal quote, he said, maybe one day those you actually gave a safe haven turn against you. If I'm not mistaken, that was the meaning of a comment by President Erdogan. And I fully subscribe to this. You allowed terrorists basically to roam freely. Think about the events recently in Paris, in Hanover, and in Belgium. You had a demonstration which should have never happened, and at the same time later on the Consulate General is attacked in Hanover. Now, this can't go on. And Turkey is right to demand absolute solidarity from its European partners to stop the PKK sympathisers, and the last pockets over there, unfortunately 14,500, as the Office for the Protection of the Constitution said in Germany.
So, following the violent incidents in Belgium, Turkiye's Consulate General in Germany's western city of Hanover was also attacked by PKK supporters. So what do you make of this separate attack? And we know that Turkiye's ambassador to Germany, Ahmet Başarşen, said he asked Germany to take additional steps and measures to protect its diplomatic missions. Will Germany take these calls seriously this time?
Must be taken into the account seriously. If let's say the host country consider itself as a serious state, this is an obligation according to international law, because the host countries are responsible for the protection of security. It is not only for the case of Germany, for all other states. So the protection of any kind of diplomatic missions is on the one side, and on the other side, of course, these people working inside the consulate somehow must be protected from any kind of attack outside of the consulate, because if you consider yourself as a peaceful country, so this is an obligation. And it is also related with how you call yourself as a freedom of speech and freedoms for everybody, for individuals. So this creation of order and security is a must for any kind of country.
So, Klaus, how well connected are these PKK sympathizers when it comes to organizing violence against Turkish nationals, Turkish community, and its diplomatic missions across Europe?
Shockingly, they seem to be very well connected. I mentioned by now it's 2 years, but it was repeated last year, approximately 14,500 known supporters of the PKK or groups linked to the PKK, according to the German Agency for the Protection of the Constitution. And that agency said itself approximately just over 1,000 of them have a known potential violence background. And 300, 2 years ago, 300 manifestations and demonstrations had trouble and violence alongside. None of them should have ever been allowed in the first place. So yes, they are extremely well connected. Think about a small town in Belgium. Think about Belgium a couple of days ago. As it has transpired, 150, I don't know the exact number, but I believe 150 was mentioned, supporters came over from Germany actually to create mayhem and attack innocent Turkish citizens in Belgium. Would you believe that? Now, the only positive thing which will come out of this, and you know, Aisha, I'm very, very outspoken, research a lot about the subject. The only positive thing coming out of it is Turkish citizens with a Turkish background, and step by step, hopefully, Turkish and anyhow, Turkish civil society in Europe and European civil society will realize these are, as I always say, no old men drinking tea associations. These are terrorists and responsible for the death of over 45 innocent people in Türkiye. So that should come out of it, that they are attacking now Turkish interests, innocent Turkish interests on European soil. Hello, Europe. It's a wake-up call.
So, Zuhal, how is the PKK and its affiliates harming Turkey's relations with European countries? And is there a need for these countries in question to coordinate in a, in a bid to prevent such attacks happening in the future?
Actually, I'm more optimistic because, okay, there can be some problems about stopping or keeping it under control somehow, because maybe it was not so expected to have this kind of attacks. But after this point, I'm sure German officials are aware that keeping the peaceful atmosphere in their own country is very important. So after this point, I'm sure that the European partners of Türkiye will be very seriously at the side of Türkiye. And I want to remind you a very important development last year. We were talking about integration definition of terror as a part of NATO security concept. Why? Because terror must be considered seriously as a part of security considerations in and outside of Europe. So if you are serious, if we are serious, we have to step now, and we have to separate the usage of violence from freedom of speech. And this case shows that PKK supporters are not the free thinkers. We are talking about terrorists, and terror is not something tolerable. From that approach, I hope and I'm optimistic about the positive steps of European countries to stop these kind of initiatives, because at the end it may create disorder for the other citizens, other people living in Europe. So I'm optimistic about the next year. So it won't be negative, I hope, for Türkiye and European, the countries' relations.
So, Klaus, are you as optimistic as Zuhal? Because back in 2022, Germany's spy chief Haldenwang admitted that the country has become a platform for the PKK terror organization's fundraising and recruitment activities targeting Turkey. So the question is, has there been any progress in eliminating certain associations that recruit young people as foreign fighters?
German intelligence knows about it. They have actually woken up. Much more needs to be done. There is money laundering, there is human trafficking, there is the recruitment of young people going on via media houses, so-called associations. And you only have to look at their names.
Yes.
International Friendship Group and what have you. Much more needs to be done. I think it's the first step in the right direction. I am optimistic, like my esteemed colleague, yes, but much more can be done, needs to be done, has to be done.
All right, Klaus and Zuhal, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk.